All right, Coach. How are we feeling heading into this next round here?
Feel good. I think we're in a good place. I think after you play the first game, you kind of probably have a few jitters. It's a little bit of the unknown, the excitement, and then for me at least, it starts to kind of wane and settle down. And we're working a lot, and you're not getting a lot of sleep, but that's to be expected. But there's excitement, there's a lot of preparation, and that's the hardest part. Is just you have a day and a half to prepare for a team you're not overly familiar with, and trying to get your players in the right headspace. But all in all, I think we're in a great spot.
Yeah. So this isn't the first time you guys are going to be playing in a hostile environment. You see it a lot in the Big 12, and then last year's round in Iowa was probably the craziest place you've played. What can you take away from those games heading into Monday?
Yeah, I've said all year to our players that were a part of that team a year ago that if you played in that environment at Iowa, there was no environment that should intimidate you or that you should be flustered in. Now, there's still great environments. We had a lot of those in the Big 12. This one will be again tomorrow night, but we can draw off of those experiences. And I loved our demeanor yesterday. I thought we stayed together. We were tight when things didn't go our way. We really hung together, and we'll have to do that at an elite level tomorrow.
Yeah. I know you've answered some questions about JJ, but what else can you say about what JJ has brought to this program? I feel like after every game, it seems like she hits another milestone, and then surpassing 2,000 career points is just amazing. What has she brought to the program?
Yeah, well, everything, I guess, is probably the answer. I think the beauty with JJ is she really wants to be a great player on both ends of the floor. That's not always the case. So she bought into our philosophy from day one on that. And then she's an unassuming superstar. She's quiet. She's motivated. She works. She's like a coach's dream. Like, she does all of those things. She's a little quiet, but she's learned how to be a little more vocal, and so she's taken steps there. But yeah, she's just a quality kid, family. She's truly leaving a legacy. If there was a Mount Rushmore of women's basketball players at WVU, that kid is now firmly on the Mount Rushmore. And when you're talking about that, you're talking about the elite of the greats, and she's established that.
Yeah. I asked her about you because you also hit a milestone with that win. I know you're not going to say much about it, I know. But I asked her how you have made an impact in her career, and she said, he's just been consistent my whole career here and been a big part of that. When you hear that, how does it make you feel knowing you've really been a big part of JJ's career?
Yeah, small piece, I guess, as a coach. I'm trying to put them in positions to have as much success as they possibly can. Consistency for me is kind of like number one on leadership. I want to be the same guy every day for coaches, players, staff, whomever, is that it's not too much up and down. And I think for them, they can feed off of that where they know what they're getting every day in their coach. And, I'm just literally trying to put them in the position for them to achieve. And whatever comes my way is probably a reflection of the players. So, to get to 50 wins in 2 years is fantastic. But hadn't thought about it, wasn't really a part of anything. It was just I want to have success. I want to put the kids in that position too. And then you reap the benefits, and you have great players like JJ and the rest of the squad.
Yeah. Last question here about UNC. What's going to be the biggest key to come out with a win and advance to the Sweet 16?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them. You get to play in these elite teams like we have some in our league as well, and so you got to defend. They're tough, they're physical, they have a size advantage on the inside, which a lot of teams do against us. So can we control the paint? But this is an elite defensive team in North Carolina, so they're on par with us defensively. And so how do we generate offense? Can we turn them over? Can we rebound? So who wins the possession battle probably becomes really important. And then it also comes out, you got to make shots. Like, that's this time of year. Like, whatever team makes more shots and probably gets more possessions is going to win a game.
Yeah. Okay, actually, this is the last one after I put my arm down for a second. What's going to be your message before the game tomorrow?
I haven't quite got to that point yet, but it will be more of just settling in and playing, and that you're built for the moment. And that's a little bit what we talked about for the last game too, is we've built up for this, and this is what we've wanted. And the JJs and the Jordans and the Kayas, Kaya Watson's been to a Sweet 16, so she knows what it's like. She played it in, South Dakota, they went to a Sweet 16, so you're drawing off every experience. And so just that we've prepared, we've built the schedule based on this. Our Big 12 prepares us for this. So you've got the stage, so to speak, the stage is all yours, and I hope they just go shine.